In the first half, we dealt with situations in South Africa where the president was to give a State of the Nation address but was disrupted by the EFF party as they were against the president speaking at the State of the Nation address. Now we shift our attentions to East Africa, where Rwanda's President Paul Kagame has called out peacekeepers, diplomats and politicians of avoiding the truth on the Eastern DR Congo crisis. Speaking during the diplomatic core dinner at Kigali Auction Center, Kagame extensively spoke on the authenticity of the UN peacekeeping mission MONUSCO, which has attained little to nothing in their 2 decades mission, Rwanda's relations with DR Congo, and the role of the international community in this crisis.
Now, describing the diplomatic efforts in DRC and its relations with Rwanda, he explained that the truth, most often that not, is now a matter of perception or subjective, devoid of facts, evidence and logical reasoning. Fears have been mounting over continuous violence in the east of the Democratic Republic of Congo, despite various peace efforts. President Felix Tshisekedi accuses his neighboring counterpart, Rwandan President Paul Kagame, of supporting rebel group M23. Rwanda denies the allegations. Now, joining us live from Kigali in Rwanda to discuss this and more, we have Asong Michael Khumbah, is a lawyer and member of the Rwandan Bar Association. We also have Modeste Nkurikiyimana, a senior journalist and fixer. He joins us live from Kigali in Rwanda. Gentlemen, a warm welcome to the program and thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Mr. Gbenga. Thank you, Madam Omodia.
Thank you.
Now, I'd like to start with you, Michael. Taking a lead from President Kagame's speech, the United Nations Stabilization Mission in the Congo, MONUSCO, is one of the world's most expensive peacekeeping operations. Has been there for over 19 years, but has yielded a little desired outcome. Why do you think this is the case, and what do you make of the Rwandan president's speech accusing the West of hypocrisy?
As a matter of fact, what President Kagame is saying is true, because we have the impression that the UN stabilization mission in DRC has yielded to nothing. It has been there for over 20 years, and we know very well that there are genociders there who actually ran away from the atrocities which they committed in Rwanda in 1994, genocide, and yet the DRC and the UN stabilization mission in DRC has not yet succeeded in actually bringing these people to justice. Moreover, we also realize that most of the reports and facts which are being brought upon the table, we can't really verify them. There is no independent body which we can really trust, knowing fully well that this same international community had information in 1994 and even before that a genocide would take place in Rwanda, and they did nothing. How do we trust them today? I think this draws our attention to the fact that we as Africans are not yet independent. It is not for foreigners to carry out investigations in our different African countries, but there should be an independent committee by the African Union to carry out these investigations so that we can actually trust the reports. Because right now, it's impossible to trust these reports, and we know very well that the DRC is reputed for not respecting the Pacta Sunt Servanda principles of international laws, knowing fully well that in 2009 there was a Goma agreement and it was not respected, and that is what led to the resurgence of M23. So the dispute is not between the DRC and Rwanda. The dispute and the conflict is between the M23 and the DRC.
Okay, while you say that the dispute is between the M23 and the DRC, DRC says that Rwanda is backing the M23 rebels, especially because of, this quest for Congo's resources. Now, first of all, how true is this? And also, what are the major reasons why DRC feels that Rwanda is backing the M23 rebels? There has to be reasons that the DRC has given.
Thank you very much, Madam Omodia.
All right, sorry, please. I'd like that question for Modeste. Sorry about that. Modeste, please.
That statement shouldn't be for the Democratic Republic of Congo. It is actually a statement that one may think has been composed by the FDLR because, number one, they most of the time say that Rwanda is backing the M23, but they have never showed and maybe the traveling of the Rwanda military, or maybe crossing the border to go in DRC, maybe to back the M23. They have only showed pictures, but one wonder why they didn't maybe shot on them or bombarded them or even start a battle or a war. There's the military from Rwanda who are maybe crossing the border. So up to now, by the fact that there are only pictures stipulating that, it may be for people who simply based on facts, it's like it's a scapegoat, but it's not true because if maybe, as you know, the DRC forces have been shooting some bombs in Rwanda. So one can imagine why they didn't maybe fight against maybe those Rwandan military who were, once they saw them, crossing the border. That is one fact. Secondly, this may be a statement of the FDLR who always want to attack or even aggress or even talk badly against Rwanda, because if it wasn't so, the DRC should have maybe sorted or negotiated or even talked or accused the rebel of the M23 rather than accusing Rwanda. Rwanda has been testifying and neglecting about those accusations. So up to now, it's very hard to understand or even to accept that really Rwanda is back in the M23.
Okay, I'd like to bring back Michael. Now, the problem between Rwanda and the DR Congo has been persistent for decades, but all of this is coming to a head, and relationships at an all-time low. Even when the Pope recently visited the DRC, in front of the Pope, President Felix Tshisekedi said, you know, Rwanda is a destabilizing factor in the DRC. Now, last weekend, a joint communique was released on Saturday after the EAC summit in Bujumbura, and it had indicated that the leaders were calling for urgent ceasefire, directed defense chiefs to drop a new withdrawal plan for M23 and rebel groups. So it's not the first time. We have Nairobi Accords, we have Luanda Accords. They've met in at different levels in international organizations. So what is the stumbling block to peace and normalization of relationship between Kigali and Kinshasa?
Actually,
and do these talks, all these talks they're having at different places, do they change the situation on the ground?
Yeah, as I was saying, of course, all these talks will not change any situation. Why? Because all these leaders in the East African community, Congo and Angola, have not gotten to the root of the problem. The root of the problem is what everybody does not want to talk about. And the root of the problem is that due to bad governance, some people in Congolese in the eastern regions of the Democratic Republic of Congo were marginalized. And these are the people that later on formed these rebel groups and became M23 due to a failed Goma agreement. So the issue here is that why are these leaders not bringing the M23 on the table? And that is where the problem lies. You see, the DRC is always looking for a scapegoat. And unfortunately, all the other countries are subjected to believe in this because of some reports that come from the international community to actually place Rwanda as the center of the problem. But as I always say, the issue is not between the DRC and Rwanda. The issue is between the DRC and the M23. And that is why we have the name M23, because it comes from the 23rd of March Goma Agreement of 2009. And that is why they are so called the M23. So each time the M23 is being put out of the dispute, whereas they are supposed to be at the center and they are an active chief member, and they are the ones causing all the atrocities. So do you think it is Rwanda helping M23 to do what they are doing now? Did Rwanda help M23 in last 10 years or, I don't know, 15 years ago? So those are the things, the questions.
But Michael, permit me to come in here. You know, I mean, it's open to judgment, but a lot of Rwanda's budget is funded by aid from international donors, and these international partners, the United States, Germany, Belgium, France, have said that, you know, Kigali is complicit in its support for M23 rebels. Human Rights Watch, Amnesty International, and also the United Nations reports, subsequent the United Nations mapping exercise report, as with evidence that, you know, Kigali is responsible for this. So could all of this people be wrong?
What I'll tell you, I believe about 100%, I can even say 100%, that they can be wrong. Why? Because this same Rwanda, which they are helping today, 25 or 30 years ago, they knew that a genocide might happen in Rwanda, and they did nothing. I think that what they are trying to do by assisting Rwanda is that they are some sort, in one way or the other, trying to pay for the crimes that they did before. But we always have to know that the reports we are getting from international community must be verified. We must know their veracity. Because in the past, they have not shown us that they should be so trustworthy and that we should rely on them. So my take simply is this: we can't just base our judgment on presumptions. If they say they have evidence, they have facts, there are procedures, judicial procedures. They can seize the International Criminal Court so that these facts will be produced there, and we shall see if Rwanda is actually liable. But if they can't do that, then we can base ourselves by actually carrying out subjective judgments, which actually, at the end of the day, we might realize that are not true. We know that they have been in the DRC for decades now, to more than 20 years. And what has been the outcome? Nothing. Moreover, we instead see the resurgence of more and more rebel groups. So these are the questions we should ask ourselves. If we should really rely on the international communities and on these countries that today are supporting Rwanda, not obviously because they love Rwanda, but probably because they failed in their obligations maybe 20 or 30 years ago, and they are struggling to catch up. And I think it's time for us, Africans, to be independent and to actually seek solutions for our own problems. I believe that the African Union should come into this, and that it should be clearly identified that the problem is not between DRC and Rwanda, the problem is between DRC and the M23.
All right, talking about African solutions to African problems, I mean, the regional group EAC has also been meeting, so it's not just the international community. There's also been mediations from the regional groups, and that's why we have the regional oversight mechanism involved in all this to make sure that the two parties adhere to the peace agreement. They've been meeting so far, and the recent one was in Bujumbura, but Kagame still insists that Congo is faltering on the agreements made. So what exactly has the regional oversight body done to make sure that the two sides, not just DRC, but Rwanda, all partake and all make sure that they enforce this peace agreements being made? Modeste. Modeste, can you hear me?
I didn't hear the question.
Okay, we're looking at peace agreements, and so far Paul Kagame has accused DRC of not following up with the peace agreements. So I asked that what is the regional oversight mechanism doing to make sure that these two parties adhere to the peace agreements made in the different meetings and peace accords that have been made in the past and even presently in Bujumbura? Modeste, did you hear that question?
The internet was wrong, somehow interrupting, but if I come back about the issue that you were talking about, the peace agreement that the president wants maybe to follow. The challenge is that the Democratic Republic of Congo president have really namely the rebels that they are now terrorists. And according to rules and regulations, I think the country cannot negotiate with the terrorists. So that is one of the stumbling blocks that the country has set itself. Therefore, they chose to use a war strategy. And unfortunately, the rebels are now pushing the FRDC forces from state to state, from zone to zone, area to area. Maybe the challenge or the stumbling block may be that the government has really jumped over and called the rebels that they are now terrorists, which can be for a country to shaving itself or jamming itself, maybe because they are being called, all the countries of the region are calling the Democratic Republic of Congo to sit down for negotiations and negotiate with the rebels, which maybe cannot be accepted by members of parliament and even other politicians from the Democratic Republic of Congo. So, like for example, the last time in Burundi, they were simply asking the president to see what they can do, and of course respecting the agreement of Angola, but it seems impossible as the president didn't agree to do or to follow that way. So now it's like simply the only strategy or the only way is war. And the challenge is that, of course, the DRC keep accusing Rwanda of backing them 23, which are no more nowadays fighting on the bordering country of Rwanda. They are already in the countryside of Congo. They have even seized many areas in DRC, but the accusations are still there. So nobody can define or be specific and say this problem will be solved, resolved in which way. And the only left solution, or the only way that will resolve this problem is simply by the side of the Democratic Republic of Congo, maybe agree and sit down and negotiate with the rebels.
Okay, definitely peace efforts and accords will still continue, especially for the East African bloc. Thank you so much, Modeste Nkurikiyimana, for joining us, a senior journalist and fixer all the way from Kigali, Rwanda, and also Asong Khumbah, lawyer and member of the Rwanda Bar Association. Thank you so much for joining us on this conversation.
Thank you. Thank you very much.